Our first guest tonight is settling into his new job as the director of recruiting for BYU basketball. He's the brother of head coach Kevin Young, who spent years covering basketball recruits with his own hoopscene.com, also rivals.com and Yahoo. His job's all about the future. The future is exciting, and it's our pleasure to welcome Justin Young to the Wise Guys. We've been working on this and hoping to have you on for a long time now, and tonight is the night. How you doing?
I'm doing great, guys. How
Fantastic. Good. And by the way, AJ DeBansa is going to be on BYU Sports Nation tomorrow morning at 10.
Yeah.
So you can get to see what's on his mind as he's cruising through Utah prep and doing great.
I think Justin and I talked about him coming on this show, I don't know how many months ago. And he said, yeah, bring it on. Let's go. Let's do it. He did.
Justin, what's this team missing right now? Have you been able to define it?
Yeah, we need to be on the right side of the scoring column, I think, at this point. We're right there. I mean, really, I think there's obviously a couple games that you can point at and go, yep, we lost that one. No doubt about it. Time to move on. But I think when you really scale it back, you can probably say these 8 possessions, 10 possessions, 12 possessions really are the difference between us being there as a 3-1 team in the league versus a 1-3 team. So I heard you guys talking earlier. I'm with you, Blaine. I think this Oklahoma State game sets us up pretty well to right the ship and to get back into Marriott Center and to use that magic and kind of get back to right where we belong, which we think is a really, really talented team.
You know, sometimes the best medicine is just see the ball go through the hoop more consistently, and then all of a sudden you start feeling better about it and you're not hesitating. How much, as you've watched from close, has this been an adjustment for Yegor and Cannon, the physicality of this league? We said it last year, and I've never covered the Big 12. Covered the Atlantic 10, which is a physical league. Covered the ACC, the Mountain West. But this Big 12 just seems like defensively it's crazy physical. How easy is that for somebody like Yegor and Cannon that are coming out of high school to adjust to on the fly?
Yeah, it's not easy. I mean, a lot of these guys have been playing high-level basketball. Obviously, Yegor in Europe. Cannon, certainly with Overtime Elite and playing Nike YBL. But when you get to college basketball, it's grown man basketball. I had a good friend of mine years ago. I was at practice, and he goes, just close your eyes and let me know what you hear when you watch us practice. And I was like, oh, I'm not sure I understand this exercise. And then when I did it, I was like, okay, got it. And it was actually a really good thing for me to learn as a young scout, just the sound of the ball screens, just the sound of guys crashing the offensive boards, the sounds of guys as they kind of run into each other. And I think for any freshman, whether you're on the academic side, that second semester, you're finally kind of catching a rhythm, right? Okay, I know that, my time management, I'm kind of figuring out my rhythm. When do I eat breakfast and how do I exercise and all these things. Now you add athletics into that. I think for freshmen, you're kind of figuring out what's my rhythm of how I want to compete as an elite player. And I think obviously with our schedule, it set us up good, I think, for our young guys to get confidence early. And then you hit that Big 12 wall, you're like, okay, maybe I'm not as confident as I thought I was. So there's some growing pains there. But luckily with the Big 12 schedule being as big as it is, they'll let you kind of work those things out. And you obviously have a long runway to kind of right the ship. And you do have some grace within the schedule to make sure that you can finish strong, which, listen, when you compete, that's what you want to do.
Been watching your brother kind of respond and react to what he's seeing in his first year at BYU and first year of Division I, first year of the Big 12 and all that stuff. And I mean, last year in a timeout, they'd drop a play and it'd say, okay, Booker, I want you to pass it to Durant. And then Durant, you hit this guy. And then they go out and they just do that. But here you do it with the kids and then you go out and then something completely different happens. And that's an adjustment for him, isn't it?
Yeah, what's the Mike Tyson quote? Everyone has a plan until you get punched in the mouth.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
So I think that kind of rings true here too, and that's a credit to the teams we played. Obviously, we've played some good teams. Obviously we know about Houston, but Texas Tech is a darn good team, man. Mm-hmm. Like a tremendous team. I was really impressed with that group, and so we're playing some high level teams with some guys, and I think a lot of teams have subscribed to this recruiting idea that you recruit old and then you stay old, and I think that really kind of shows its head. I mean, listen, we got 2 of our starters, 2 guys that play pretty regular minutes, are 9 months away from sitting there with their teenage friends and going to class and then playing at that level, obviously for Yegor. So yeah, it's a big adjustment. But again, you're only a freshman until you're not, right? And then I think the Big 12 makes you grow up pretty quick.
As a recruiting coordinator, you're focused on the future. Let's talk about AJ DeBansa and what he'll bring to the program when he comes on board.
I mean, he's just a dude. I mean, I don't know if that's like a real scientific or like real coaching phrase, but he's just a dude. And I think you see that with like a lot of the great players where, going back to your point, Dave, where you just kind of look at Book, you kind of look at KD, you're like, go be a dude. You don't really need a lot of instruction. They're just kind of, it's just in their DNA. AJ has that. And I think for me, like people have asked me like, well, how good is this guy? I've done this for 25 years. He's up there. I mean, he's in that hall, that really rare hall of guys that are an impact. We're so much so that I actually kind of hesitate to even call him a freshman, honestly. Like, I don't think he comes in with like a lot of the freshman growing pains. Now, obviously, he'll still have some. We saw that with either, like you look at Cooper Flagg, right? The way he started the season, there were some growing pains. And last night, 2 nights ago, he goes off for 40-something points.
Yeah.
And it really seems to be like he's in this zone that he knows that, listen, I'm the guy. I'm out there. No one can stop me. No one can defend me. Nobody can get me off of my game. I think AJ's got that same sort of similar, if not better, mindset where that dude is so competitive. Like if we had 2 bottles of water on our table right now, he'd probably look at the 3 of us and go, I could beat you in drinking this bottle of water. And you're like, bro, it's just a bottle of water, man. Like, relax. But that's kind of how he's wired that way, that he wants to compete at such a high level. And I think for him, everything kind of trickles down from that. If he sees the opportunity to go attack the rim, and that's the weakness, I'm going to go attack that and exploit that. Listen, if I'm getting 2 or 3 guys, thrown at me, I got shooters on my right and my left, and I can get the ball to those guys. Very high IQ, very highly competitive, wired to score, and we're really excited to get him to Provo and see what he can do for our program.
Once a kid signs like he has, do you have a lot of contact with him between now and when he shows up with his suitcase to settle in here? What's that like?
Yeah, this is the thing I love about all the guys that we sign is that they do a really good job of meeting us in the middle as far as what we're even allowed to be able to go do and how many games we can go out. There's a certain number of the days of the calendar that you can go out, but obviously that relationship I think is just as strong going to them as it is coming back to us. And so you see them, they stay in constant contact with all of our staff, with Coach Young. Coming up to games whenever they can. Like I just saw, obviously Chamberlain's really close because he's nearby, but
yeah,
it's great to see him in the Marriott Center. Zavon came up and had a great reception from the fans. So I think it's a two-way street. But yeah, we stay up on it. I mean, I try to watch as much as I can in the role that I'm in, whether it's a live stream or whether it's just watching the film. I try to stay up to date with all of our guys all the time.
Let me just follow up on that. When you saw AJ walking around the Marriott Center with his hands up in the air and the fans with a standing ovation, and what did you think?
It was pretty surreal. I mean, I've been around some pretty high level players in my career. We counted it up. I've had the fortunate place to be of covering like 17, 18 guys have been the number 1 pick in the draft and like really knowing their story. I don't know if I ever saw like that kind of hero's welcome, if you will. It was pretty surreal. It was pretty cool. You know what, the other part too is I think when you have kids like this where, especially in this day and age, where a camera follows them everywhere they go, whether it's a phone or whether it's literally a camera, is that they're kind of forced to not be an 18-year-old, right? You're almost like the character on this reality show.
Yeah.
I saw an 18-year-old kid just loving the moment. And that was the part that was really cool where, you strip away all the fanfare that comes with being who he is. He was just a kid that was like, oh, that's pretty sweet, man. This is pretty cool to be here. This is my home. And it was. I'm kind of getting chills just thinking about it. It was cool, man. I've never seen anything like that before.
Dave and I were on the game calling it. Yeah, we kind of took us back a little bit. It was really fun to take it all in with him. It was fun. So, hey, BYU basketball director of recruiting Justin Young's on the Wise Guys with us, presented by Brady Plus and delivered by the Deseret News. You mentioned Zavon, the 7-footer out of Nevada. What do you like about his game?
What I like about his game is exactly what Kevin likes in his big guys. And he likes guys that can run the floor. I think, I don't know if it's in our DNA or what. We love length. Like we've always my bias when I used to go scout players all the time was I want guys with incredible length. Zavion's one of the most unique guys in that class. His ability as a shot blocker, he's the best shot blocker in his class. And you don't see like a lot of great domestic, like American-born 5 men anymore. A lot of times you see that from the international space. Zavon is really one of the most unique guys in that regard where, listen, if your defense breaks down in the Big 12, you have a lot of teams that love to attack the rim. We got the best guy back there as a secondary insurance to block a shot. And then offensively, I mean, you see what we do with Kayla, right? Throw at the rim, go let the big fella go get it, play at the rim, play high field goal percentage opportunities. That's what I see with Zavon. But more importantly, I see a kid with unbelievable character that wants to do the work, that wants to get better. And what he's done, I saw him, I think it was I see him. Was it 3 years ago, 2 years ago at Section 7, which was a big recruiting event down in Phoenix. And I remember looking back on my notes like, I don't know, man, this dude's got a lot of work to do. And every year, I mean, he just ratcheted it up and ratcheted it up and ratcheted it up and just really made significant strides in his development, which tells you a lot about his mindset. He wants to get better. He wants to be great. And I'm excited to see what he brings to the table. But defensively, going to be huge for us in our long-term plan. And when he gets bigger and he gets stronger and he takes advantages of all the great things that we've got in place at BYU. And then offensively, I'm just excited to see him make a point guard really happy.
All right, here's the question I think everyone's really interested in the answer.
Okay.
Without naming names, how have other recruits around the country that you're looking at responded to you signing these two kids?
Yeah, it's been interesting. I've had a lot of conversations that probably weren't going to happen had we not had this type of class. And I think it goes back to what we did with this past class too, with our current freshman group as well. I don't care what grade you're in college, you just want to play. And so I think to that regard, I think guys are attracted to that there's an opportunity to go play or there's an opportunity to go get better and develop and practice against some really talented and experienced guys. But yeah, I mean, certainly we've had a lot of calls. I mean, a lot of times we're recruiting, particularly with this 25 class, like a lot of these guys are already kind of accounted for where they're going. But beyond that, to your point, like I'm always looking down the road. I'm kind of like the Marty McFly, right? Like I'm into the future, right? And like trying to think about what we're doing. And so that 2026 class is going to be really critical just based on who we currently have on our team. Obviously AJ is probably going to be one and done. At least I hope that's the case. And then we've got a lot of guys that we've got to return or we've got to replace. And so, yeah, I think that has really opened up a lot of eyes, not just like regionally or just, within the area that you typically see BYU recruited, but all over the world, really, for that matter. And that part's been pretty good. Now we just got to decide which of the best guys we got to get that could fit what we're trying to do.
BYU is always an interesting numbers game with a little unique challenge that nobody else faces because not only are you accounting for incoming freshmen, you've got transfer portal folks, but now you also have to keep track of, and who are we recruiting that's going on a mission and then coming back? Who's already out on a mission that we've already committed to? Just a whole layer of extra that nobody else in the country really deals with on a regular basis. Do you know for sure how many scholarships you have open next year, or do you just how do you even recruit with all of that going on? I guess is the question.
That's a great question. Yeah, you do sometimes. I mean, like on my depth chart, I've always got like a big bold, Brooks Barr, who's out on a mission right now, and we got to make sure that it's just because he's not front of mind because he's out there doing his job that he should be doing. You got to keep that present. Obviously, with Chamberlain the year behind that as well. So, I mean, it's kind of part of our routine now where you do think about that, but in recruiting too. I mean. I'm trying to say the right way to say this. You almost got to think like I'm always building a brand new team every year, the way that college basketball is built every year. Yeah. At least be prepared for that, right? Now, obviously, you hope that you're not. But for me, I'm in the information business, and so I want to have all the information as I possibly can, just in case, we have a player that decides that we thought he wasn't going to go on a mission, and all of a sudden had to change ours since I am going to go on a mission. Yeah. So then on the flip side, you've got to be able to be prepared and always be able to fill that spot. But no, we love our mission guys, and we love having them on the board, and we know that their spot's safe, and we know they're doing good work. They'll hopefully come back. And I mean, listen, I gained about 65 pounds on my mission, so if we get some of those guys that go on their mission and come home with that kind of – no, I didn't have good weight. Hopefully their guys come home with good weight.
Yeah, good 65.
We can put them to work. So.
It depends.
Do you know how many you have that you're trying to fill for next year? Can you even predict that right now? Do you know?
Is it 3?
No, we'll just say it's fluid. We'll just say it's pretty fluid.
It's kind of how it has to be, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Our pleasure to have BYU Basketball's Director of Recruiting, Justin Young, on the Wise Guys. We're live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, wiseguys.com, our live stream all around the world tonight. We appreciate having everybody with us. The ESPN mock draft for the NBA going into last weekend had Yegor 8th to the Kings and Cannon Cashings ranked around 37th on the draft board. In your opinion, do you think those two will be back next year or unless something dramatic happens over the next 16, 18 games?
Yeah, I mean, I think Yegor, I mean, if you have a chance to be a lottery pick, I think you rarely see a guy that says, I'm going to come back anymore just because of opportunity. Yeah. We've had a lot of general managers come through the annex and seeing guys and really doing their homework. And I think once people really get to see Yegor, particularly on the practice side, and really see that. I think that's going to carry through. And I think that message has been really consistent, even through the slump that he's in right now. That IQ is really different. That passing is really unique. Like, I'm not, people make fun of me in my industry that, oh, JY, you think every player is not very good, which maybe it means I've just done it too long, or maybe I'm too critical. But I'll say this without being hyperbolic. He's probably one of the 3 best passers I've ever seen in my career. Like, he's tremendous. Yeah. And he puts that ball, in places that only Peyton Manning and Tom Brady could do. Like, a really, really, really unique, talented player. And so I think that'll carry him over. Obviously, with Cannon, the thing with Cannon that we loved about him as a high school player is he's such a high ceiling guy. Where you guys have seen it, you guys call the games. There's 4 or 5 players like no one else on the floor can do that with Cannon catches.
Right.
Nobody. And that length and that shot making ability is certainly, when you look at guys that have been drafted in the past, they check a lot of those same characteristics that Cannon brings to the table. So yeah, I mean, I hope for both of those guys that they're definitely hearing their name on draft night. I mean, that's, we knew that coming into it. That's the type of player that we want to recruit with those 2 guys. And we hope that we can finish strong enough for them to make sure that narrative is matched with some really good experiences and hopefully some wins and some experiences in March Madness.
Hey, what is it like for a kid like Yegor, who turns 19 in April or March, to be in this little slump or big slump, however you want to look at it, and there's 35 scouts in the building that have come to see him? How do you even get out of a slump with that weight on your shoulder of you want to be brilliant at the same time and you're just trying to do some basic things?
I always have like this. It's so like Ted Lasso-y. It's kind of cliche. The hardest part is just the doing, and everything that we do. I think you just got to do it. I think you just got to go through it. You just got to power through it. I mean, what a great lesson to learn at 18, 19 years old, to know that you just got to persevere, right? I mean, I think a lot of people, I know for me in my own life, it took me when I was in my 40s to like really get it on some occasions, right? So, yeah, I mean, it's part of life. It's part of being a basketball player. You got some good days, you got some bad days, and a lot of times, most of it's just kind of everything in between. You just got to power through. So that's part of being great. You got to learn that. You got to experience it. You got to feel it. And when you feel it, hopefully you don't put yourself in a position where you're feeling it that often. So that's just part of the growing process of being great.
Justin, like, people come up to me all the time and say, I thought these 2 guys were like NBA guys. Those guys don't look like NBA guys. And I tried to explain that they're 18 and that when they're talking about being NBA guys, they're not talking about who they are right now. And you mentioned this just a minute ago. They're talking like about Cannon's crazy ceiling, right? And Yegor's a little further along, but also his crazy ceiling. Talk to that a little bit and help people understand why, even though he's having a slump right now, people are going, yeah, he's a top 10 pick.
So I watch a lot of the Phoenix Suns still, right? I do. My wife's a Phoenix native. She loved the Suns. We love the Suns, right? We had great experience. So I still watch them all the time. They got a guy on their team, Ryan Dunn, that played at Virginia that starts for them now. And I honestly have no notes of that guy, that young man, ever when he was in high school, ever. And now he's a starter in the NBA, 6'9". Actually, ironically enough, he's really close with AJ. And so, like, Ryan Dunn, to me, is one of those guys where you just don't know what they are, but the physical intangibles are there, right? And he just does the work, and he got stronger. You never know, when your body's going to mature. The other part, too, I think when people think about NBA draft picks, we think about LeBron, we think about Jokic, we think about, like these real physical, Giannis, KD, like these really unique physical, just not normal type of people.
Yeah.
Where when you look at the rest of the NBA, there's a lot of guys that are like, oh, okay, that actually makes sense. And so there's 60 picks in the draft, right? So, yeah, every guy's going to look different. And our 2 guys definitely, what they look like as 18, they're definitely not going to look and be the same type of player when they're 25. And that's what the NBA is looking at. They're looking at the trajectory of that 10-year plan, maybe 15-year plan. And I think that's why you get really excited about upside for sure.
It's cheaper to get them now than when they're a free agent at 24 and ready to command the world. That's
I hope they don't forget about us old guys that helped them along the way.
That's right. That's right.
Justin, you got Oklahoma State tomorrow night at the Marriott Center, and then on Saturday it's the first BYU-Utah game for you and your brother up in Salt Lake City. What do you anticipate in this baptism of fire in the rivalry game?
Well, I heard you're supposed to call it the team up north. Is that right?
Some people do that.
I think Urban Meyer started to call BYU the team down south, and then I don't know.
We just call them what they are.
We just call them Utah. We don't care.
Well, in the coaching side, particularly in the business that I was in, I was really close to the coaches, staffs all over the country. So I actually have great respect for Craig and his staff, and a lot of their guys on their program are great dudes. And But yeah, I mean, hopefully, if you don't get it fired up for like a rivalry game, I mean, maybe to your point earlier, Blaine, like this is a great week for us to really kind of recalibrate, get that fire stirred up. Sometimes in order to get the fire really roaring, you got to, stoke it a little bit, move some stuff around. Maybe this is our week that we do that, kind of refocus and get that fire burning before we get into really the middle and the heart of that Big 12 schedule. We're fired up for it. Excited to go up there to Salt Lake and excited to play those guys.
One of the unique things I think with the staff that Kevin's put together, and you're a big part of that, but there's like 11 or 12 guys. It's the biggest staff we've ever seen. When there's a timeout, a few kids get up, and then an army of is it a challenge to coordinate everybody's role in that massive thing?
Yes, I literally, 100%. Like I think that all the time. You'll never see me go onto the floor because I think about that all the time. I'm like, we're going to have 30 guys on the floor. We've got 15 players on our bench. That just the optics of it look weird. So that's so funny you say. I'm like, I'm totally good standing back here. I don't want to jumble that up. But yeah, I do think that we are literally the biggest staff in the country. Like that, not joking. All facts to the table. I think we are the biggest staff in the country. So yeah, it's a little bit of a lottery of who gets to sit where. So.
Yeah, but there is one voice once they get in that huddle, and we know that's Kevin's, and that's the important part, right?
Absolutely.
I think we're ready. Are you ready? Do you feel ready, Blaine?
Oh, for 5 questions?
I think we're ready.
Yeah,
5 questions is presented by Strategy Square, delivering connection, clarity, and confidence in business and marketing strategies, owned and operated by a BYU alum who's helping the wise guys conquer the world. You can reach Chantal at strategysquare.co. 5 questions are going to come at you from Blaine super fast.
And everybody will judge you on what we've talked about so far, but mostly these 5 questions.
Can't wait.
No, these are easy, and these are just whatever comes to the top of your head. This is how we get to know you better. So we'll start with this easy one. Your favorite sports movie?
That's a great question. Probably Field of Dreams or Rudy.
Nice.
Okay.
Rudy's one of my favorites. I love Field of Dreams too.
Those are good.
Yeah, when James Earl Jones died, like Field of Dreams, that's what I thought about.
It's like he went into the stocks.
Right. So, okay, your favorite singer or band?
Oh man, so I probably love music more than I like basketball. Truly, I can't answer that with one. Here's how I'm listening to the most right now. I stayed in my Southern roots. I'm a big fan of a singer-songwriter named Jason Isbell. Love Jason Isbell.
Jason, how do you spell his last name?
Isbell.
Okay, I'm gonna have to go because whenever I hear new ones, I'm writing this down. I'm gonna go
Is
give it a
this
listen.
a country guy or what? What is this guy?
Yeah, I don't know what genre he is. Kind of just the guy that just he can break your heart, but then he can turn you up for a Friday night.
Jason Isbell. Okay,
Isbell.
That's new. That's a new one. I love getting new ones.
We love educating the audience. Jason Isbell.
Someone introduced me to Common Kings. I'm like, okay, I love Common Kings. Have you ever heard of them?
I haven't. No.
Yeah, they're like kind of like a reggae Hawaiian.
It should be called the Uncommon Kings because we don't know who they are.
No, it's they're so good.
Kings.
So I like these new ones. I like Jason Isbell. Okay, I'm gonna go check it out. So, okay, your favorite basketball player?
Oh man, I love Charles Barkley. I do. I love Charles Barkley. I grew up. My dad was a big Larry Bird guy, so we had a heavy dose of Larry Bird, obviously Danny Ainge.
Yeah.
But I like Barkley. I'm a kid of the late '80s, early '90s, so I love that era. I love that he was. I just love his attitude and his personality. I like a ruffian, man. So I was a big ruffian guy.
Do you like him more as a former player, now broadcaster, who says whatever's on his mind, or when he was something
round mound of rebound for the
Sixers?
Rebound, baby.
I mean, I'll take both versions. I love that dude. I don't mind anybody that speaks their mind. I'm a big. It's funny. My wife and I, like I said, we watch a lot of NBA stuff, and Kevin's, in the NBA, and we used to always joke that we would always hope that Barkley would just cover like the elections and he's sort of like big. American news.
Oh, he would be awesome. I keep waiting for Chuck to run for the governor of Alabama. I think he might get elected.
He might.
Just because he's like the truth. So
he'd get it.
All right, Charles Barkley it is. Your favorite BYU sports moment?
Well, I'm hoping that one comes, a couple of months from now. Honestly. It's funny. I don't really have like a lot of memories there, even though I've got siblings and stuff that I always went to BYU, but I never really spent any time there. In fact, this is a fun fact. I worked in basketball my whole life. The first Marriott Center game I ever went to was this year.
What?
Wow.
And so I know. So I don't have like a ton, but I do think when I came up for the press conference when Kevin was announced, and it was kind of like this realization, like, oh, okay, I got it, right? I got it for like the first time. Like this place is really special. And it was a really cool. I think about that a lot, actually. Just think about just that day and how much I feel like the basketball programs every day has felt like we're on the cusp of doing some really cool stuff since that day. So right now, that's my memory.
But a new one's going to come. It's going to be.
I hope so.
It's going to be when Yegor shoots a turnaround three at the end of the game and he knocks it down to take you to the Sweet 16 in the tournament.
I think Yegor, we saw him start his career like every play was like an oop, right?
Yeah.
I think he's saving the best for last, where the last play now has got a little magic like he started his career with these first early games where we start with the oop.
Beautiful.
So hopefully so.
Love his personality, and we're just ready for that light to come on, so that we know he's having a good time.
Yeah, exactly. So, by the way, I love him. He's great, one of the nicest kids I've ever met. It's really fun to be around. My wife thinks he's the greatest kid she's ever met. So, all right, the last one is your favorite childhood memory with Kevin.
Man, so I'm the oldest of 5 boys and 1 girl. And Kevin was my next closest brother, so he was probably on the bad end of a lot of older brother beat ups.
I know how that feels.
You can still take him, though, right? You
I had 2 older brothers. I know how that feels.
If you're going to get in a fight, you would take Kevin, right? Still.
I mean, I think I'm in a different weight class than him, so I like my chances.
I like your chances
because of that. I don't know. We grew up playing on the blacktop in our neighborhood in Dallas, and it was always fun. Kevin was this little blonde-headed kid, and I always knew he was really good. So as an older brother, I always loved going out there. Now, we didn't hustle anybody. We probably could. If we were a little bit more street smart, we probably could have came out of there with a little bit more pocket change. But I just loved playing with them when we were kids. And, we had some pretty epic football games in our front yard with all the youngs, and we took on all comers. So I think that honestly, that invitation is still on the table, the youngs on a turkey bowl. We still got a little bit in us in these later years in our older age to get one more good run in.
Did any of those
we'll
youngs
take somebody on if we need to?
Any of those youngs pretend to be Steve Young out there on the side yard?
Yeah. So I was all-time quarterback because we always had, there's 5 of us. So yeah, I was the right-handed Steve Young for sure.
I love it.
That is great. Those are 5 questions for Justin Young. Nice job. I thought you handled it with style and class. You never know.
I was expecting him to be sweating a little bit more. Y'all take it easy for the first time.
This is not. We love it. We love having you on. Thanks for sharing all this stuff with us.
We're happy to have you here, and best of luck. And I'll tell you what, recruiting in the last 8 months has turned more heads than any other time in the history of the program. So good luck. Keep going.
Yeah, I appreciate it. We have a good thing to sell, that's for sure.
All right, we'll see you tomorrow night.
Thanks, Justin. See you tomorrow.
Thanks, guys.
Justin Young, the director of recruiting at BYU, and older brother of Kevin Young, and really a lot of insights. And the recruiting world, that's his world.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't surprise me that one of the first moves Kevin made was, I'm going to get my brother in here because he's the best at doing that.